welcome to our camper. And let me show you around. This is the RPod 192 by Forest River. It is a 2022. Let me show you around. Hope you enjoy. Alright, so here's the cabinets in the bathroom. Our shower, which we had changed out that. And the cabinets. There's storage under here, under both of those. And there is the TV along with the radio, which plays outside. And of course, cabinets up here. And then storage down there, the cabinets up there, fridge, decent sized fridge. Only downfall was it was not programmable. I did not like not having a sprayer. I did like having the sink. That was perfect. And of course I had to put that up. The dressers up there, a little storage down there, and a little storage underneath. And I got that, and the bed folds down. Now go ahead and fold that bed down. I'm gonna go over the pros and cons of the RPod 192 by Forest River that we had approximately 6 months. Got his pros and cons, and then I have a list of my pros and cons. So his pros is number one, and these are not in any specific order. His first one was the size of it, 19 feet on the outside. So it was very easy to get into parking spots if we were going out to eat, etc., etc. It was light, almost too light. Like we could barely feel it behind us. Actually, I guess that could be a pro and a con. Easy to set up and tear down. And of course it was, because it was like nothing to it. Number 4 for his pro was the bathroom. There was plenty of room in the bathroom. So it took up, the bathroom was the entire end, side to side, so plenty of room. It was very spacious. Number 4 pro was no slide to deal with. And then the 6th one was being prepped for solar. So let me move into his cons. It only being single axle, you had a lot of bouncing when you got to your destination. Normally things were all over the place. I don't think we ever experienced cabinets opening. The con was also, and I believe that that's also under one of my cons, is if you're stuck in it due to weather, rainy weather and stuff, it did start to get small. So door placement. So the door was located at the front of the rig. When you come into the door, the Murphy bed was down. You're coming right in on that bed. So when you open that door, like, you know, it's there. And also for security reasons, that was one thing that I mentioned to him when we were talking about it, is the security reasons. I mean, if somebody were to break in, you're like right there. Not good for cold weather camping. Let me kind of go over that a little bit. It wasn't set up for cold weather camping. Now, we knew that going into it, kinda, but it was not good. We did have it in some cold weather camping, and it just wasn't good for it. It got very cold up in the head area. We did use space heaters. We used our furnace, and still being up in that head area, because there was a window, it made it very cold. One propane tank. On our first, which was Catalina, we had 2 propane tanks. So having one propane tank, you found yourself having to change frequently if you were in cold weather and having to use it. Prep for solar, it did not have the solar. So I'll get to my pros and cons. Number 1, for a pro, it did have a decent amount of storage. Believe it or not, for the smallness that it was, there was like, I had bathroom storage, I had storage by the refrigerator. I had 2 big storage areas in the bathroom, and then I had storage above. Did have a little bit of storage underneath. It did have storage under the 2 dinettes, and it also had storage under the Murphy bed. The storage was amazing. Matter of fact, when we moved out of it, we were surprised at how much stuff we had in it. Number 2, I have to go with one of his, the Pro's bathroom was a good size. Like I said, because of the placement of it, and it took up the whole width. Plenty of room. Number 3, lots of windows. I love windows. If you know me, I love windows. I love natural light. Right now, I have my blinds all up. And in the bathroom, there was a window. So when you open that, that kind of let the light go throughout. 4, like I said earlier, kind of piggybacking off of his, small and easy to get into places. Number 5, the dinette and Murphy bed. Now that could be possibly a pro and a con. It's kind of a love-hate relationship. I was willing to try the Murphy bed, and the Murphy bed can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. So if you put that particular camper, if you're just going to plan on sitting at the dinette, okay, no problem, leave the bed down. But if you needed more seating, could always put the bed up, and then you had the seating there. If you had the bed down, the only thing about that is having the bed down, you did have where you came in the door, so you did have the limited space. It's a love-hate relationship, like I said, but it did give us the dinette and the extra seating, so that was a good thing. Number 6, I'm going to say the floor vac. It has a different name, I know, but that's what I call it because it's on the floor. And it's amazing. It's one of my favorite things about the campers that have those floor vacs. So that is my pros for the RPod. I'll go into my cons. Number 1, small, which wasn't bad unless we got stuck inside, which I mentioned that earlier. If it was cold, snowing, raining, whatever, if you had to be inside for a long period of time, it did get kind of cramped. I mean, even just with 2 people. Number 2, such limited counter space. There was no counter space. I mean, you had the sink and you had the stove. And so if you had the cover on the sink using it for prep and you needed to use a sink, you couldn't use a sink, you had to move everything off. So then you move it over to the stove, and then you have to use the stove, so then you got to move it. So we're doing a lot of back and forth. I found myself moving it over to the dinette, which was not always great, because if he was sitting there doing paperwork, or if I had my computer on the dinette or whatever, it wasn't a good thing. So the counter space was definitely something that it was awful. So if you're trying to prep for food, or trying to put use a crock pot or anything like that. Number 3, I have to agree with him, door placement too close to the front. I already went over that. Number 4, fridge, no temp control on the fridge. It was small. Could not get a lot in it. I don't even think I could get a week's worth groceries. Like if I went and got literally a week's worth groceries, I was like trying to look to see where I could put stuff. So I would get limited on how much I could buy at the time. It did not run on the battery while you were driving, so the refrigerator went off. So you could not keep ice cream, you could not keep anything that absolutely like meat and stuff that absolutely needed to stay frozen if we were on the road for 5 hours. Because we do travel so much, I found myself only getting a small amount, which caused me having to go back to the grocery store, and we all know how I love to go to the grocery store. Not. And the no temp control, we found out because of the no temp control, we were dealing with freezing within the fridge. Waters wasn't a bad thing, but my eggs froze. I mean, yeah, so depending on where I placed them in the fridge, and there was no certain spot, I mean, just depending on the airflow, I ran into that. Hated that. Number 5 con, set very low to the ground. Now that could probably be a pro and a con, because I loved our steps. We had 2 steps. They weren't the kind that you had to fold up into the camper. You just flipped them over and put them up underneath the camper. Perfect. If they were wet, muddy, or whatever, you did not have to worry about getting that in your camper. But it did set low to the ground, which kind of made you nervous whenever you went over railroad tracks or over you know, parking lot bumps or whatever. As he said, one of them not good in cold weather. I agree. It got very cold. As far as with the floor vac, there's a con on that because we got no attachments with ours. So we was going to have to buy those attachments, and those attachments are like, I don't know, the ones I looked up like were $100 to $150. So I never did buy them. I just figured use the broom and sweep it all in. Okay, so that's our pros and cons, and I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the RPod. There was reasons why that we were looking smaller. We wanted to be able to do a little bit more boondocking, get into smaller places, harvest hosts, etc. We were going out to South Dakota. We were taking some family with us, and we were going to stay at the hotel where family was staying. So we wanted to be able to get into the hotel parking lot and not worry about it, because some hotel parking lots are small. We liked it also because it did have the dinette. It had the Murphy bed. He had always wanted a Murphy bed to try it out. We knew it wasn't good for winter. We didn't know how bad it wasn't good for winter. But we were taking our chances there. With the storage under the dinette seats, would be better if they were like pull-out drawers instead of having to lift the seat up, because basically it was just a piece of wood. You had to take kind of disassemble it and then reassemble it. So drawers would be a lot better to pull out. Would we go back? We were just talking about that last night, and probably not to that size. You'll look back now and say, okay, that was good for a time, good for a season. We've moved on. We loved the RPod. It just was not fitting our needs anymore. So we needed to meet those needs. I think that's all for the RPod 192 by Forest River. I'm not going to say we hated it. I loved it. I don't think he would say he loved it, but we do say, you know, if you are interested in that type of camper, definitely try it out. Go look at it, go feel it. Funny thing is we have stayed with Forest River. We don't know why. It just that kind of happens. So we're on our third. And I hope you enjoyed the tour of the RPod 192 by Forest River. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please put them down below. Please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Doesn't cost you a thing. And if you find out that you don't like the channel, you can always unsubscribe. Make every day a new adventure. And God bless.